Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying the evening, especially knowing that this is the final one on the docket tonight. Traditionally, small colleges have a great deal of turnover in their coaching ranks, but there has been something very special here about Franklin College. Franklin has been extremely fortunate to have several coaches who dedicated their lives to teaching and coaching. Tonight, we are honoring yet another one of those coaches in Doreen St. Clair. Doreen, will you please join me on the stage, please? I first met Doreen in the spring of 1968 when Ruth Callan was recruiting me to come to Franklin College. Doreen was a part-time teacher and coach at the time. Ruth had to go to a meeting, so she stuck Doreen with me. The pressure was on. I found out several years later that Doreen was a nervous wreck since Ruth told her to take special care of me because she really wanted me to come to Franklin College. Do you know how she convinced me to come to Franklin? That is Doreen. She took me bowling with her two young children, Jeffrey and Jennifer. That probably would have been a recruiting violation by today's rules, but it worked out fine for back then. That was the beginning of a wonderful relationship between Doreen and I, but it's the type of relationship she had with so many of our student athletes who affectionately called her Saint. Several former athletes want to share their thoughts about her this evening. There weren't hundreds, John, that I had to fight off, but one that couldn't be here tonight, Susie Hittle-Yeagle, a 1998 Hall of Fame inductee, had this to say, quote, "I did not have any coach or professor who was more dedicated to both her students and Franklin College. Saint made you want to learn. Her teaching was not just from books, but from common sense and experience. Playing for Saint was always fun. Sure, we worked, but we worked for her because we loved and respected her as a person and a coach. Saint, you were a true role model, not only to me, but to all the young women you coached, taught, and counseled. I think about field hockey, volleyball, and the days of sitting in your office, and how enjoyable those days were. You had a tremendous impact on my life, and I will be forever grateful. Your induction is long overdue. Congratulations, and thank you for all you did for me while at Franklin." Cindy Huffman, wants to say, and I quote, "How much encouragement you not only gave me, but all your student athletes by giving us your full trust. I can think of many times I accomplished a task because you trusted me enough to take on a challenge that I would never have attempted. It always was a growing and successful experience that I would never have had without your trust and encouragement. Thanks so very much, Saint, and I am so glad to be here tonight to share the evening with you." Debbie Cummins wants to share some characteristics that come to mind when thinking about Doreen, and I quote again, "Zest for learning, enthusiastic spirit, passion to promote healthy lifestyles, great mentor, high expectations of herself and inspires that in others, very disciplined, very caring, fun-loving." Debbie is also very happy to be here tonight. I think there are a lot of people that are extremely happy to be here tonight. At this time, I would like to have all the people in attendance who are celebrating Doreen's induction with her to please stand. Do you all please stand? I believe this gives you, who do not know Doreen, an idea about how much she is truly loved and respected. Thank you all for being here for her. One could go on and on about what made Doreen a great coach and teacher. It is no wonder that she received the Franklin College Teaching Excellence Awards 3 different times. You have to be a good teacher to be a good coach. It was fun playing for Doreen. She set challenging goals for our teams. As a freshman, I had never heard of field hockey. I had no clue what it was. Neither did a lot of my other classmates. Doreen was talking about playing field hockey, and I said, no, I'm not going to play that game. I don't know a thing about it. She called me a chicken. I think I was putting that nicely, really. Nobody had ever called me a chicken. So, what did I have to do? I had to go out and learn a new game, as did many students at that time that came to Franklin College. As a freshman, it was only the second year for a field hockey program, which Doreen had started. And every year, we had a goal. Our goal that first year was to score a goal. Now back then, we probably only played 3, 4, maybe 5 games max. Things have changed a lot, obviously, since then. But they did not score any goals that first year. Well, guess what? First game we played, we had an outstanding player that had come in from New Jersey. She knew what field hockey was. She scored right off the bat. So, right away, we met that first goal. Okay? Scored. At least one time. The next year, our goal was not just to score a goal, but to see if we could win a game. Because we didn't win any games our first year. So, I think that year, we not only won 1, but I think we won 2 or 3 games. So, we were meeting our goal again. Great motivator. The next year, our goal was to have a winning season. We did that as well. Then my senior year, our goal was to go undefeated with the additional incentive for a team state dinner, which we did. And guess what? We did go undefeated. We never wanted to disappoint St. Doreen had excellent tennis, both men's and women's teams, field hockey and volleyball players. These people always set their sights on winning. She also coached the first women's track and field team that did quite well in a meet at Ball State. All had 1 meet, that's all we had, but we started. What really impressed me with St. was that she always went to clinics, camps, workshops, so she could learn more to help us become better. Field hockey teams went to Sauk Valley Field Hockey Camp up in Michigan. There were individuals that went with St. I got to be one of them because, boy, I needed help with that. We went to volleyball clinics at Ball State. All this Doreen made possible to challenge us to become better athletes and better students. As a student athlete, my dream was to someday return to Franklin College to teach and coach so that I could give back to students like St. always did. She was not only a great coach and teacher, but more importantly, an excellent mentor, a great motivator, and a lifelong friend. I never stopped learning, thanks to Doreen, and I think there's a lot of us that can say that in here. I'm very thankful to have gone bowling, Doreen. We're thankful you did too. That began my inspiration to follow in her footsteps, as so many other Franklin students have. For all those former students on Saint's team, we congratulate you here tonight. And on behalf of the selection committee, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Doreen StClair's into the Franklin College Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much. Everyone here knows what a great athlete Jenny was and still is. And it was not only on the athletic field, but in the classroom where she excelled. And it was my great pleasure to be her teacher and coach. And then a few years later, someone on the administration asked me to go to the University of Minnesota, where Jenny was the head coach, and convince her to come to Franklin. Now there was a little problem there because she was the head women's basketball coach. That was it. She was making $10,000 a year more than we could offer her. And I was supposed to convince her to come back to Franklin. And for some reason, she did that. And I know in part it was because of her family. But I also know it was because of her loyalty to Franklin College. Then I had the pleasure for many years to be her colleague. And that was a wonderful experience until I retired in 2000. But the best part has been being her friends for so many, many years. And Jenny, I thank you for that. I learned more from you than you ever learned from me. I want to thank Corinna, or congratulate Corinna and Jay for being inducted. This is truly a great honor. And I also want to thank the committee. I'm on the committee at the University of Indianapolis, and we get so many worthy nominees and so few opportunities to honor them. It's a very difficult task, and I really appreciate that. I want to thank my husband, T.H., because there were several years I was coaching 3 sports at the same time, and one year it was 4 sports in the fall. And with 2 young children, there's no way I could have done that without his support, juggling, getting the children to practice, picking them up, and being sure that one of us was at one of their games. And even though both of us are graduates of what is now the University of Indianapolis, he soon became a fan of Franklin College. When we were raising money for the softball complex, he was the first check I got came from him. He has mentored you. He has given you legal advice. He has written recommendations for you. He's found internships for you. And when he came home one afternoon and one of you were sitting in our driveway with no place to go, he welcomed you into our home. He was not too happy being an attorney when he found out that I was driving one of our cars and you were driving your cars to meet. Things were very different in the 70s. And it was my great pleasure to be with Ruth Cowan, who was a mover and shaker in changing things for women's sports, especially during the 70s. That was a great honor for me to be working with her. I also want to thank our son, Jeffrey, who came from Oregon City, Oregon. And with him came our grandson, Nat, from Portland, Oregon. And our daughter, Jennifer, who is a Franklin College grad and came from Carson, Washington. And I really appreciate your being here. It means a lot to me. Things were very different in the 70s. We had one set of uniforms. They were double knit, polyester. They came up to your neck, they came down to your knees, and we wore them for all the sports. And the coaches washed them, or the girls washed them. We drove our own vehicles to the games. We played Indiana University, Purdue University, Ball State, Indiana State, Notre Dame, and believe it or not, we won some of those games. And seeing all the changes that's taken place in women's sports has brought me great joy. And to be a part of that movement when it was moving so quickly during those years. And I look out, well, my husband told me about 3 weeks ago, he said, you have more good friends than anyone I know. And I look out over the audience tonight, and I'm reminded once again how blessed I am. And not only have you been my students and my athletes, but more importantly, you've been my friends. And you've helped me when I've gotten myself in community service projects and I couldn't handle them alone. You've been there to help me by my side and team teach with me. You've given me funding. You've given me advice, and I still call you for advice. I was asked a couple weeks ago to teach a tobacco class to 4-year-olds. So I'm on the email talking to those of you who have had 4-year-olds or now have 4 years old. And so I've been truly blessed. Franklin College was a great place for me to be, and I appreciate all my friends and my colleagues, and working with Mark and Ginny and Ruth was very rewarding, and this is a great, great honor for me, and I want to thank everyone very much.